In this video, we're going to listen to some scary stories, but first, let's roll my intro. And welcome back, everybody. Like I said at the beginning of the video, today I'm going to be listening to some scary stories, but I'm going to be doing it in the dark, pitch black, nothing on. So if y'all up for a scare, you're more than welcome to join me. But before we get started, like always, if you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell right next to it, so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So let's get this video started. If y'all want to turn your lights off too, get the mood started. Let's get to this video. Okay, everyone, I got my lights off and everything, and I hope y'all doing the same. But to warn you, if you guys do not like scary stories, please do not listen. Just don't do it. Don't have nightmares, okay? But I'm gonna do Blue Spooky. His link will be in the description below after I'm done with this video. So first, I'm gonna do a clown story, I guess, volume 2. So let's get to the first scary story. Ooh.
It started in a cave on Halloween. Just me and my friend Anna. Me and Anna are the total opposite. She's blonde, outgoing, and completely fearless. I'm dark-haired, introverted, and a people pleaser. That's actually how I ended up at this cave. People pleasing. Anyways, we go through the cave, and it was pretty awesome. The usual people with chainsaws, screamers, clowns. One clown in particular kept following us. He wasn't like the other clowns who wore face paint with fake blood splattered on them. He didn't have a big red nose and clown clothes. He had on regular, if not tattered jeans, a stained sweaty white tee, and a clown mask. The mask was pretty detailed. It had the eyes cut out, and a wicked, jagged-toothed mouth with blood smeared around it. It was seriously creepy. He follows us all the way through the house as we giggle and run into the fog room at the end. Once we make it outside, we go to get cocoa and watch the local bands play. While in line, the clown walks up and stands inches away from me, breathing in and out so hard his mask sticks to his face and releases with each breath. Okay, creepy, but pretty normal for this place. He walks away for a moment, and we giggle, but he just stays close, staring. We walk over to the band, and he stands right behind me. He starts tugging on my hair. I try to ignore it, but he just keeps tugging harder and harder. Suddenly, he pulls so hard, my head whips back. Anna starts yelling at him, and he lets go and walks away.
Yeah, if you're scared of clowns, comment below and let me know. And remember that weird clown outbreak we had a couple years ago. If you had experience, share it with me, comment below. Well, let's get back to the story.
But not far, like before. She wanted to tell someone, but I didn't want to tell anybody. We're at a haunted cave, and he probably didn't mean to. But she said no, and that they couldn't touch you. And we walked over to the ticket booth to complain. It went a little something like this. Ma'am, your clown over there pulled my friend's hair so hard it almost ripped out. I don't see any of our clowns. They're all in the cave. None of our people walk around out here unless they're behind that rope, because some families with small kids come for the hayride and bands. But that clown right there did it. How do you not see him? Calm down, miss. That's not one of our clowns. Are you sure he isn't a friend of yours? I just responded with a thank you and told her that we were sorry. I just wanted to leave at this point. The clown is still staring, and I'm missing hair now, so this isn't very fun anymore. fearless Anna decides to confront the clown. She marches right up with me behind her and demands he takes off his mask.
Anna's stupid.
He doesn't speak. He just looks at me. He reaches out his hand to me, and I refuse to touch him. He pushed Anna from in front of me and stepped 2 inches from my face and screamed the most terrifyingly psychotic scream I've ever heard. Everyone turned to look. The band even stopped playing. Anna grabbed me by the arm and pulled. His stare had me frozen. Then, Anna grabbed my face and slapped me, and we started running. I looked behind, and he was still standing and staring. Everyone just went back to what they were doing like it was nothing. We got into our car and peeled out. Anna just kept yelling that we needed to call the police. I told her that it wasn't that big of a deal, and that it was just a weirdo at a haunted cave, and that I had no hard feelings for the slap because I was too scared to move. Then, she said something that made my blood run cold. He had a knife. That's why she slapped me and pulled me away. Not from the fear of being screamed at. She saw the knife in his hand. We contacted the police, but they didn't take us seriously. I'm now afraid to go to haunted attractions. Not because they're too scary, but because you never really know if someone works there or if they're just there because they fit in so well. After spending the...
Okay, that's all for a clown story. I'm going to look up some more stories. Stay tuned. Stay with me. Let's keep going. We're going to do 3 videos, 3 scary stories together. See if we can make it to the end. So, yeah. Welcome back again, everybody. I found another story. This is true scary stories from Reddit. So, yeah, let's see what kind of stories this will be about. So, let's get going.
This happened to me during the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016, until I moved due to the fear of living alone in my apartment. Slight backstory. I'm a 22-year-old British female, and I've been living in Japan since April of 2015. The apartment I first lived in was rented out by a company connected to my school. It wasn't a good apartment at all, but at the same time, I didn't know what the general quality and size versus price of Japanese apartments were, and I got given one of the 5 that I chose before I moved. The apartment was seriously tiny. 1 room, kitchen connected, and bed about 2 steps away from it. I could walk the length of my whole apartment about 10 steps. But I was excited, because it was my first time living alone, and in a country that I previously only dreamt about living in.
Apartment.
After about a month of living and studying in Japan, I met my ex-boyfriend. He told me that the area I lived in was not a good one, and known for inhabiting creepy people. He warned me not to walk alone at night anymore, or if I did, to not wear headphones and be wary. I kicked myself for the countless times I'd walked the 30-minute journey home from the clubs while really drunk after hearing this. Japan is generally a really safe country, but not so much for females that are alone. Anyway, into the story. I'd been living there for 6 months when my best friend returned to England and moved out. This left me a little scared because I had noticed previously that the neighbor on my left was a bit odd. He would constantly clear his throat as if he was coughing up a hairball or something. He didn't live immediately next to me, but down the hall, so when I exited my room and looked left, his door was in view. On the left were stone stairs going up to nothing since I was on the top floor, and if you went past the stairs you'd be standing outside his door. On the left is more hallway and stairs going down. I only took those stairs to do my washing, shared machines on the bottom floor. Otherwise, I always used the stairs on my right at the end of the hall, because the stairs leading to the washing machines were always full of spiders. My friend moved out, and after that I noticed this guy around a lot more. At this point I had never seen his face, but I could tell when he was out or in his place for the evenings due to the light that would yellow his peephole if it was on. My peephole was smashed by a previous tenant, so if he looked at mine, he wouldn't be able to tell if I was in or not, luckily. He still cleared his throat all the time, and despite having space between us, it was loud enough to sound like it was coming from outside my door. That's how loud he did it. To be fair though, our walls were pretty thin. I didn't think much of him, until I started noticing that when I went outside my door to smoke, in clear view if he were to look through his peephole, his light would suddenly turn off. I didn't think too deeply about it, since I would usually go out at night.
Sorry about that, everyone. I had to charge my phone, but we're going to get back to the story right now.
I thought maybe he just decided to go to bed, and I coincidentally saw it every time. Anyway, one day I went out for a cigarette, and I saw his peephole go black. I stared at it while I smoked, trying to pick up any changes in light to confirm or disprove my theory that he hadn't turned the light off, and it was in fact blackened out by his own face. I was stood up this time for some reason. I usually sat down, but I had a weird feeling on this day and stayed standing. I forgot to mention that our doors are metal, so opening and closing them makes a really loud noise. I stubbed out my cigarette and put it in my ashtray, when I noticed him open his door and start coming out. I was on high alert, so a bit panicked, but I thought, meh, he's probably just taking his trash out or something. Then my blood went cold as I noticed he wasn't holding anything at all. He was just standing there, facing directly at me. I tried to turn slowly and naturally as possible to go back into my apartment as he started walking past the hall to the stairs and towards my apartment. The path was straight, so if he was intending on walking past me, he'd have kept his feet straight, but he didn't. His walk was angled towards me, and the space between our doors was less than 3 meters. I opened my door when he suddenly started to walk much faster. I got around my door and entered, closing it, and had just enough time to see him lurch towards my door as I slammed it shut and locked it. He stopped outside. I couldn't see him because of my broken peephole, but I didn't hear him keep going past my door or going back to his, so I knew he was right there on the other side. As I was listening intently, I saw my handle very slightly start to jiggle. He was trying to open my fucking door, with who knows what intentions. I waited for maybe 30 seconds before I finally heard him turn and walk back to his place, and heard the door close. I was extremely panicked at this point, so I called my male school friend and explained everything. He asked if I wanted him to come over, but he lived pretty far from me and it was already late, so I told him I'd be okay. He stayed on the phone with me for a while as I calmed down. During our conversation, he asked me to open my door and close it, just to see if the guy would come out again. I did, making a show of opening and closing it hard, listening intently. And to no one's surprise, I heard his door creak open and close again after he probably paused and stared, wondering why he'd heard my door but not seen me. After this, I was scared to be in my apartment at night or to go out for cigarettes. I started testing it. Leave my room silently. Smoke. His peephole wasn't black when I went out silently, thus confirming that it had been him watching me as I smoked all those times before. Then close my door normally after I was done and listen. Sure enough, every time I closed mine, I'd hear his door open. Occasionally, I heard him come to my door and just stand there, probably listening for a sign if I was in or not. One night, I was out smoking, and the creep came home as I was there. I was frozen still, staring him out of the corner of my eye. He didn't even open his door at first. He just stood there staring at it for way longer than normal. I'd almost finished my cigarette when he finally opened it and went in. Another thing that I can't 100% say was him, but I'm pretty sure. Sometimes I would smoke in the stairwell when it was raining, because the rain would hit me when I stood outside my door. I smoked, put my cigarette in my ashtray. It was kind of smelly, so I left it there on the stairwell. Third step, same one I habitually sat on when I smoked there. left it tucked in the corner by the wall and went inside, closing my door normally and went to bed. I knew the people that lived on my right, 1 to 3 doors down. We all used the second stairwell when we went out, not the one I was sat on, and I know for a fact they don't smoke. On the left of my creepy neighbor's room was a Chinese couple that I didn't know. They and the creep always used the stairs that led down to the washing machines. The stairs I sat on, as I said before, aren't used because they go up to nothing, and they aren't even visible until you walk around a corner. Anyway, I go back the next morning to get my ashtray, and not only was it now a couple of steps up and in the middle, there was a cigarette butt and a scrunched up pack of cigarettes, same brand that I smoke. I don't know if it was him, but that stairwell is only easily visible to us. This was all happening over end months of 2015 and beginning of 2016. The thing that finally convinced me to move was the following. I'd been out for dinner with my boyfriend, and we got back after 11. To enter the gate of my apartment after 11 p.m., you need a key as they lock it. I was walking faster than my boyfriend, turned a corner leading to my apartment, and saw a figure standing in the darkness near the gate, waiting and watching me approach. He started to appear from the shadows, away from the apartment and towards me. My boyfriend turned the corner, and as soon as the guy noticed him, he pulled his phone out and quite clearly pretended to talk to someone on it. My boyfriend and I walked past as he slowly followed. I didn't realize at this point that it was my creepy neighbor, but we were silent, both wary of the situation. As I got to the gate, I noticed that it was locked and started searching my bag for my keys. The guy came up, said excuse me, and nonchalantly opened the gate and stood on the other side. I had found my keys by this point, and was holding them ready to lock the gate again. But the guy was stood as if he was waiting to see if my boyfriend would enter with me or not. I showed him my keys, said thank you, and then I locked the gate myself. He reluctantly left before my boyfriend had come in, and we watched him go up the stairs, but didn't see which apartment he went to. When I saw he'd used the washing machine stairs, it clicked that it was my creepy neighbor, and I told my boyfriend. We went up the same stairs slowly. I went first and peered around the corner to where my neighbor lived. He was stood there, waiting, staring at his door but not opening it. He noticed me come around and turned to me, staring until he saw my boyfriend, and then went inside abruptly. This was the last incident I could handle. I knew he was up to something no good, and didn't want to wait long enough for anything else to happen. I decided to cancel my contract and move out. I had to pay a fair amount to do it too. Until the day I moved, he still did creepy things. I'd hear him outside my door, or see the black people, and just know that he was staring at me.
Okay, that was very interesting and creepy. Let me know what you thought about this story in the comments below. So we got one more story to go. Hope everybody's still hanging in there. I know this might be a little bit of a long video, probably one of my longest videos, but I appreciate it. And yeah, so let me find another story and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay everyone, I did try to find a real scary one for the last story, but this one is going to be called Encounters with Demonic Entities. Yeah, well, it's about demons, so should be scary. So let's get through this gauntlet of scary stories. Let me know if you're still hanging in there. And yeah, let's get this last story going.
After my experiences in a haunted theater, I began to further explore the paranormal history surrounding the town my college was in. I won't share the name of the town or the college, but I will tell you that it was in Ohio. I keep the town's name a secret to protect the citizens and the people reading this. Trust me when I say you want no part in the restaurant that houses these demonic forces. I made a friend at school whose family turned out to own the restaurant in question, and while I had found very little on its history online, the family shared with me a dark tale that led to the third floor being closed off to the public. The tale essentially goes that there was a fire there in 1999, with absolutely no explanation. The fire was extinguished before anything other than the third floor was destroyed, but the fire had threatened to engulf the whole building. Upon rebuilding the third floor and attempting to move dining tables and such in there began to be a host of dark encounters. All of the workers reported a heavy feeling, and tables and chairs seemed to move of their own accord overnight. The activity reached its climax when a member of the family was pushed down the stairs from the third floor, back down to the second. Following this, the family closed the third floor and sealed it off. After the owner heard I was an aspiring paranormal investigator, he gave me the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to investigate. I called all my friends and assembled a team of 5 individuals to go into the third floor. We showed up at about midnight, ready to go, and made our way up to the third floor. My friend had brought a Ouija board with him, something all of us regret to this day. I had brought all of my ghost hunting equipment, including digital recorders, EM pumps, and a spirit box. The very moment I walked into the third floor, I felt a chill in my bones, the likes of which I had never felt before, and haven't felt since. I immediately began to conduct burst EVP sessions, attempting to capture evidence on the entity up there. After 2.5 hours, we had nothing, but I kept my hopes up based on the fact that we were coming up on the witching hour, and I've had the most success with paranormal investigations at that time. 3 a.m. rolls around, and I begin to try and stir up the spirits through provocation. My friend busts out the Ouija board. I have to take this time to warn against both of these tactics. Provocation leads to angry spirits.
Yeah, don't ever mess with Ouija boards, people. Don't ever do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Brings nothing but bad stuff in your place. Back to the story.
Something you don't want. And using a Ouija board is like holding up a vacancy sign over your head and just inviting spirits, both good and bad, in. I hadn't been provoking these spirits for more than a few minutes when one of the chairs on the far side of the room slid out on its...
I'm hearing footsteps above me, and we don't have people living above us. Okay, well, keep you guys informed if anything else is going on. Sorry, it's a little spooky in the dark, but let's get back to the video.
And I could see pressure on the seat, like someone had sat down. I immediately walked over to the table and took a seat across from the chair that had been pulled out. I pulled out the digital recorder and began to ask it questions about who it was and how it had gotten there. At this point, my memory gets a bit hazy, and I only have most of my friends' stories to go off of. The last thing I remember is an intense feeling of vertigo and seeing a dark shadow in the chair across from me. After this, according to my friends, I became very limp and began speaking very slowly to the presence across the table from me. Upon reviewing the digital recording of the conversation following this moment, I can hear myself ask in a voice that I can only describe as clearly not my own. Where did you come from? And then the growled response, which sounds eerily like, hell. After that, the digital recorder dies despite having brand new batteries in it. My friends tell me that I grabbed my arm at this point and got up, sprinting down the steps to the first floor and out the door. My memory becomes very clear upon getting out into the still busy street. I remember a sharp pain in my left forearm and an intense feeling of panic. I looked down at my arm to see what looked like 3 distinct claw marks. 3 usually being demonic in nature, the mocking of the Holy Trinity. At this point, I called off the investigation, and I've never returned to that restaurant again. I moved across the country a few years later, and I have absolutely no intention of returning. I know how easy it is to doubt the existence of demons and the validity of this story, but I assure you, if you had been present, you wouldn't be so skeptical. My friends and I took an extended break from hunting due to the events of that night. It was hard to explain over text, and is much better orated, but the fact remains that demons exist in this world, and I cannot stress it enough to hunters to practice extreme safety when dealing with dark entities. You never know what kind of force you're dealing with.
Okay, well, that's the end of story number 3. I have made it through all 3 stories in the dark alone. Hearing things left and right. Maybe it's just my paranoia, but who knows. But yeah, I'm going to flip out these lights and I'll get back to you guys. And that's the end of the video, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I hope everybody sleeps good tonight. Hope nobody has nightmares. But yeah, if you like the video, make sure you get a thumbs up. And until next time, YouTube, peace out.